Hi friends, it's Becky, and the beads were good again this week, and last week too. This is my weekly wrap-up and chat that I like to do. It doesn't always happen weekly, but it's just a chance for me to catch up with my friends here on YouTube, for me to show you what I made, for me to post some links in case you missed some of my videos, for us to see what they look like on a person instead of just on a beading mat, and for me to just talk about what my plans are, how things are going, and anything that I feel like talking about. So it's a really fun way for me to engage with y'all and for me to share how I'm going and kind of just wrap everything up. And usually I try to do it on a Sunday. It doesn't always happen on a Sunday. Sometimes it happens on a Monday or Tuesday or a Wednesday like today, and I wanted to do it closer to the beginning of the week rather than on Sunday, so that I could also wrap up my September Chain Challenge and show you all of the things all together that I made for that challenge, which was a personal challenge that I gave to myself to make at least 2 beaded chain necklaces a week, and I did that. I'm very proud of myself for that. I also came up with a couple of different ways of putting some beads together for some chains, including this one, which is a seed bead beaded chain that I did with just a really simple bead weaving and then connecting everything with jump rings. It was a lot of fun to make, and it's also a really fun necklace to wear, and it goes with my top, so that's why I've been wearing it today. But what we're gonna do is I will jump down to my bead mat and we can get close up, and I'll talk about the different projects that I did this last week, everything that I did since the last wrap-up video, basically. We'll talk about those projects, and then we'll jump back up here and I'll try them on, and then we'll go back down to my bead mat and do the September Chain Challenge wrap-up, because that one it's just going to be on the bead mat. I'm not going to try all of those on because otherwise this would be a 2-hour video, and I do have other things I need to do today, so we'll do that. Plus the try on for most of the other things that I made during that challenge, it will either be during what I made this last week, or it will be in previous wrap-up videos that I did. So if you really want to see what it looks like on a person, you can check out one of those. I will put links to all of the videos for everything that I made in the description below. Whether it was something that I made following someone else's tutorial, I will put links to their tutorials, or whether it was something that I made on someone else's channel, I'll put a link to the video on their channel as well. And then we'll also have my links for my channel, so it should be fun. Anyway, I'm excited to show you all the things that I made. Every time I do one of these, I start out telling myself that I didn't do that much, and like, why am I doing a wrap-up? Because I just didn't do that much. And then I lay it all out on the bead mat, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I did do I guess I did. Okay, so I'm gonna jump down there and you can see all of the things that I did this last week plus Monday. So we'll do that, and then we'll jump back up here and try some things on. So here are all of the things that I made this week, plus the things that I also made on Monday. And these are the things that I made both in the videos that I published on my channel and some of the things that I made during live collaborations with other creators. And there will be videos to each of the tutorials that these were created in, whether it's on my channel or whether it's on somebody else's channel. But I will put those links in the description below, where we've got more listed. So let's go over what I've made so far this week. The first thing that I made was this bracelet using the Ava beads and some of the check glass beads and some 11 seed beads from my own stash. And so this was a really fun project because it gave me a chance to use one of these flat beads as a button closure, which is one of my favorite little hacks, to be able to make closures just using buttons instead of needing to have hardware for that. And then we also got to play around with these Ava beads and make a project that could be simple, something that anyone can do, where you're just putting beading wire through holes and stringing it along. And this might be a little more doing 2 at a time might be a little more advanced than just doing one stringing of things like that. But it's one of those things where, especially with these types of shaped multi-hole beads, a lot of the tutorials that you find, a lot of the videos that are out there are more complicated, like bead weaving videos where you need a needle and thread and doing multiple passes and going back and forth and adding things here, and it can be overwhelming if you are new to bead weaving, or if you want to play around with 2-hole beads and you go and look for inspiration and there's just all of these things that you're like, I don't have the skill for that yet, or I'm intimidated by it, or I just don't want to learn that. And so I wanted to make sure and I try to do this pretty often. I do have some bead weaving tutorials that are more complicated, that are back and forth and in and out, but I try to also balance that with some things that make these beads something you can use, an easy project, something that makes it less scary, less intimidating, less of a investment in learning other skills. So you can just make beautiful things with these beautiful beads. And I really love this. I love the earthy colors. I love how it is completely autumn vibes. So this was a really fun, one of my favorite projects that I made this week. And I may be out of order with all of these. It is going to be fine, I'm sure. But then I also did another beaded chain project, and this was using the Mystery Bead Box. And I wanted to do just a simple, it's like the rosary style chain where you've got the links together, except I've got jump rings in between my links because it makes it easier to put them together if I just make my links separately and then put them together second. It's ease of that, but it also gives it a really nice drape. It flows pretty easily. So there's a couple of reasons why you might do that. But this one was a fun project because I got to use this little trick that I do for adding just a ring of beads around a coin-shaped bead. I've done it with earrings before, and this time I did it with a pendant and an oval bead, adding these pinch beads around this flower, and then just doing links with all of these other flower beads. My little brain beads, they're button beads, not not brains, but they make me think of brains, especially when they're pink. Anyway, so I made this on camera, and there is a tutorial for that as well, and it was a lot of fun. And this was one of the beaded chain projects that I did. I think this was the second to last. I think it probably was that I did. And so we'll be going over all of my beaded chain projects as well in this video, but we'll do a try on with this first before we do that. And then I think the next thing that I made were this set using the Mystic Moonrise bargain bead box, which this was a lot of fun to do. I don't know if you can tell, but there are only 2 beaded chain necklaces in all of the projects that I did. I was a little bit running out of steam, and I was wanting to do other types of projects, stringing projects. So I made these. I finally used these gorgeous, like cobalt blue, matte colored beads. But I don't know if you see right here on this shell here, I'm going to need to get some alcohol wipes, because the dye from one of these beads, and I don't know if it's the lapis or if it's this one here, it might be both, it is coming off and rubbing off of those beads. So one way to mitigate that is to get an alcohol wipe and wipe the beads. I'm going to be wiping the beads and also these, and that should remove all of that dye that has transferred there. It isn't dyeing the shell, because you need, in addition to pigment, in order to dye proteins, you need pigment, heat, and an acid. So that is not, it's not set, and it will wipe away. But that's just something to be aware of if you're using these dark blue beads, is that there may be some color transfer. And that happens with yarn where, like, especially dark blues or reds, the yarn doesn't soak up all of the pigment particles. Some of them are just too big, and so you have a lot of fall off at each time you wash it. The water might run clear when you're rinsing it out, and then you wear it or you're knitting with it and you get blue all over your hands, and then, you know, you wash it again and and the dye comes out, and you wash it a few times, but it's not like it's not set. It's just, it happens a lot with blue dyes and with red dyes. So I imagine it's the same for dyeing stones as well. So that's something to be aware of with that. I also opened up a new dollar bead box this week, and I was super inspired to make a pair of earrings, just right design on the fly. So I made these beauties. I loved that. And then I wanted to do, I absolutely had to use this chain from last month's Magical Mystery Bead Box. Oh, that's twisted around. That's not right. There we go. I absolutely had to use this, and so I made just a little dangle necklace by making these drops and adding them to the chain and then putting on a clasp. It was a really simple and easy project, but it looks fantastic, I think, in my opinion. So I'll be trying this on in a minute when we come back up to the face so you can see that. But then I also absolutely wanted, in the same video I did this one, I also grabbed the newest Magical Mystery Bead Box from Jessie James Beads, and I made this necklace with some of the components. And I'm not counting this as a beaded chain necklace, even though it has beaded chain, because I didn't make this beaded chain part. I didn't put beads to that. I just attached a strung portion to that. So for my own, like, counting of things, I'm not counting this with, whereas this one I actually made the chain with beads on it. And it's the same with this one. It just attached an existing chain to my strung portion. So I could count it if I wanted to, because I made up this challenge and I determined what the rules are for me, but I'm not counting it. So so that'll be fine. But while I was making these two in that video, I also made these earrings using some of those flower head pins and two different bead caps that I attached to the back, and then I just attached a briolette drop underneath it so that it'll be like that when you're wearing it. And then second to the last, but certainly not the last, I made this super chunky beaded chain necklace with a wire wrapped focal using some of the beads from the Woodland Wonder. No, wait, is it Woodland Wonder? Curated bead box. This was one of the monthly bead boxes that I got, and I liked that we had some fall vibes. When I opened that one, I had made those earrings right away. And then I absolutely needed to use this leaf focal, and so I made a strung necklace in the same video using the leaf focal. This is very lightweight. It looks chunky, but these filigree beads, these metal filigree beads, they're hollow and lightweight, and so it just gives you a very lightweight feeling on this necklace as well. And then, super fun thing that I got to do this weekend was go on Danielle Wick's channel. She has a weekly thing that she does. It's a live. It's called Seed Bead Saturday, and so I got to use some size 10 Delica beads and Miyuki Tilas that she had sent me from her store, and then I made these bracelets, and I'm a little bit obsessed with this. I just finished mocking up a design, the same type of design using Ado seed beads and Czech glass tiles, and I'll be happy to share that with you guys later. But if you want to watch the tutorial on this, that is on Danielle's channel, and again, I will put a link to her channel and specifically to that live below, as well as a link to her website where you can see the little diagram that I made of how to weave through this when you actually attach it there. But this is silver silk along the edges, and silver silk flat mesh is just such a fantastic medium to be able to make a bracelet with, because it gives you this nice clean edge, and then like between the two sides you can add your pretties. So I was really happy about this. I am apologizing. No, I'm not going to apologize in advance, but I'm going to be doing several of these probably in the next month. So look out for the 8.0 and check glass tutorial, because it's a little bit different, just because the size is different. But I'll do that with y'all probably this week if I can swing it. And then, last but not least, was Monday. We had the power go out, and it was in the evening, and I had been sort of prepping to start doing some late night beading anyway, and then the power went out, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not doing that. And then, you know, what's funny is my son, he does like his bedtime rituals, which is, I mean, I say rituals, but it's like, you know, he does some Sudoku and he sings some songs, and then like for ambiance, he likes to have a little candle in his room with the lights low so that he can, you know, start calming down. It really helps. He had like a sleep disorder. He still has it, but those little rituals that he does really helps him be able to actually fall asleep and stay asleep. So one of the things is having candles. So we have like boxes and boxes of candles in our house, which comes in handy when the power goes out. So the power went out, and I was just, you know, going to grab my little LED lantern that is battery powered, because we have those because we live in Texas. And he comes in with a candle, and he's like, "Mom, do you need help lighting candles?" He was so excited. He was like, "I can help." And so we lit a bunch of candles, and it was all moody. And so I thought, you know what? It is like the tail end of September. We are getting ready to go to October. I am going to see if my camera will pick up the low light and do beading by candlelight. And I was really happy that even though the lighting isn't the type of lighting I like to use for this, it still showed up well enough that you could see mostly what I was doing on my video. And so I went ahead and made a spooky bat necklace, and these are some of the details that you would have missed in that video because it was dark. And then you have these sparkly lights and some glittery things, and this gorgeous fun chain that we got in the Soft Flex design kit. This is the Gone Batty Soft Flex design kit. So I made this, and then I made these little earrings too to go with it from the same kit, and that was a really fun thing to do. And then the power came back on, and I uploaded it so that it could go live the next day. So that was a super fun thing on Monday. And then Tuesday, all my plans went out the window. And that's why we're doing this today. So let me jump back up to the face-to-face view, and you guys can see what these look like on me. And then we'll come back down here after we do the try-on, and I will wrap up my beaded chain challenge and all of the beads that I made with that. Alright, we are ready for some trying on. I went ahead and took off my little necklace so that we have an unobstructed neck view of what we made. Let's start with the bracelets though, because I'm going to show you what this Ava bead bracelet looks like on me. I absolutely, still one of my favorite projects that I made. I love it, and it even goes on easy with that little bead for a button. It's really, 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 really pretty. Really pretty, really pretty. Again, it's fall, y'all. You might not notice it with the weather that we're having today, but it's fall, y'all. That's where we're at with it. All right, and then we've got our dollar bead box necklace, and this was a beaded chain one, so you'll see it again in the wrap up of all of those things. Let's get this guy on here. There we go. This is what it looks like on. I love it. It's just it's like perfect length. Perfect length. And then, where else are we? Oh, let's do those Dollar Bead Box earrings too, because that was from last month's Dollar Bead Box, and these earrings were from this month's Dollar Bead Box. And I love, love, love turquoise and copper together. Like, turquoise and silver is iconic, but turquoise and copper, that has my heart, my entire heart. I love that. And these are fantastic earrings. I love them. Alright, now let's grab those magical mystery bead box ones. This one was from the Stay Golden bead box, and it was the one that was like 70s vibes, those colors and those themes. And I wanted to make a choker necklace with this chain because it's just perfect for that. So I've got this. Sorry, I'm not shimming my shoulders, I'm shaking my neck so you can get the glittering. All that glitters is not gold. Sometimes all that glitters is some crystal beads instead. And this was the necklace that I made before with it that I wanted to layer with it. So I've got that one down there, and this one, you know what, there's room for another necklace. I got some space in here to fill. What do you think? Should I do another necklace with the Stay Golden bead box? Because I have not emptied that box and put the beads into stash yet. It is available for me to like go through and maybe add another little something to it. But I mean, look how fun that is. I love chokers. I am definitely a child who grew up and learned some style skills in the 90s because chokers are fun if I can get it undone. That was so much fun to make though. And then I also wanted to jump right into the newest Magical Mystery Bead Box in that video and make a necklace using some of these beads and just some of this existing chain. Like, chain is one of those things that is just so great on these. Unless, like, this tassel is long enough that it's not gonna, like, fall down into the shirt. It rests on top of it, which is fine. It's great. But I love green and gold, especially this like emerald greeny color. It's so fantastic. But yeah, so we've got that one. And then let's see, what was the next one? Oh, I forgot about the earrings that I made. These guys right here. I'm gonna actually leave them on while I try on these next two, because I think they'll go with actually both of them. But these were the ones that I made with the flower head pins, and I turned the head pin part into the ear wire. So there they are. A little bit sparkly, a little bit floral, a little bit fun. And then I made another beaded chain necklace with this focal. And I did that from the curated bead box that we got our fall vibes going on in. Where's my loop on the other end? Ooh. There. Okay. Sometimes you gotta stick your tongue out in order to accomplish things. I don't make the rules. And here we go, there's that one. And y'all know I like a shorter necklace, so this is perfect length for me. There were enough beads in the box because there gets so many beads in that box. You could make a longer one. That would not be a hard thing to do if you were to make something a little bit longer than what I made. But then I made this strung one as well with this fantastic leaf. And this one is very lightweight. I mentioned this when we were down on the mat, how lightweight it felt. why am I bad with lobster clasps today? Hold on, gotta stick my tongue out. Did it. That did the trick. It's all in the tongue. Oh no. Anyway. Yeah, let's move on. Shall we? Alright, and then I made these with the Bargain Bead Box. And this is such a fun necklace to wear. It's like my blue jeans and t-shirt necklace. And then I made a whole set with it, so I have some earrings to wear too. Let's put this on. Will you go in my ear? There we go. And then a bracelet. And I mentioned this when we were looking at this on the mat, that the dye on these beads will wear off. It'll wear off on your wrist. Just get some alcohol and wipe the excess dye away. It'll be fine. So we've got those. Love them. And here's the fun thing about this is when I was wearing this the other day and I took it off and I was just kind of holding it in my hand and then I just kind of looped it like this and I was like, you know, that's about the size of a bracelet. Let's see if that fits around my wrist wrapped twice. And guess what, y'all? It absolutely does. So I've got a couple of bracelets or a necklace. It could go both ways. It could be either. So that's a super fun thing about the length on that one. All right. Speaking of bracelets, let me show you these ones that I made on Danielle Wick's channel when we were doing Seed Bead Saturday. I made this one with seed bead mix that she had, some pink. It's the lotus color silver silk chain. Where's my, there it is. I'm just gonna try and loop this on here so that it doesn't go anywhere. See, it holds that because I just don't feel like doing struggle bus with bracelets today. Oh, you know what? I think I need an extra jump ring between this lobster clasp and the next. Okay, it clasps on like that. Let's just pretend. Yeah, it's hard for me to get my finger in the right place with this lobster clasp because it's so close. The bottom of it is so close to this. So I think I need to put a second jump ring on there just to give me a little more flexibility with that. Then I also made this one, again with flat mesh, the size 10 delicas, and some Yuki beads. And then I also figured out how to get the flat mesh into these box cap findings. And it's like, it's secure in there. There's no glue, no stitching. It just, the tension is what holds it there, and it fits so well. I'm so happy with that. And these box cap findings are ones that I got from Danielle Wick's as well. Oof, and this one I think I need another jump ring because the finding is too close to it. You know what I should do? Swap this out for, like, I don't know, a toggle clasp or something. That might actually work better. That might work better. That way I don't have to get like my fingers in there and start like, it fits. But I need a different clasp. Anyway, so that, ooh, almost forgot. Can't forget. Forget? Present tense. Can't forget the stuff I made during my spooky candlelight beading session. using the Gone Batty bead kit from Softflex. Like, it's the first real, like, spooky bead mix that we got. I know we got some fun spooky season colors in the curated bead box, or not curated bead box, the curated collections. It's a totally different subscription from Beads to Live By, which I am going to be making a video for them this week. So I'm talking about plans for this week, but yeah. Let's get my bat guys on here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Spooky. It leans a little more towards the spoopy side. That's fine, because it's super fun. And it was a lot of fun to pass the time during the blackout with making some beads and recording some stuff. And then once the power came back on, I was able to just upload that and get that going. So I did that. All right, so now we're going to jump back down to the bead bat and do a review of all of the things that I made for the September Chain Challenge. So here's my wrap up for all of the things that I made during my beaded chain challenge. I am not going to be trying these on in this video because y'all just saw me try these two on, and I already tried on all of these others in my previous wrap up videos, but I wanted to wrap up each of the necklaces that I made just to give one last look at like what I accomplished when I challenged myself to actually doing a thing for the entire month. And I am really proud of this, and I'm proud of some of the fun and different ways that I came up with. I'm also really happy that I got to just play around with making some beads, and making links is kind of a meditative process. It's something that helps me settle down and calm down after, you know, a busy day, or just be able to get into like a Zen flow or something when I'm just doing some beads. So all of these have tutorials. The tutorial for this one, this here, is not mine. I made this following a tutorial that Cassandra Spicer did for the Customer Appreciation Week on the Softflex channel. So I will have my playlist for all of these in the description below. So the playlist will contain all of these tutorials, all of these videos, but I'll also put a link to the tutorial that I followed from Cassandra Spicer as well, because that's not in my playlist. I couldn't add other people's videos to that for some reason. So that's what I'm doing with that. But let's just start from the very beginning. So at the beginning of the month, I used the Softflex Grateful Hearts design kit to make this beaded chain. It feels very lightweight. It's really a fun little necklace, and so I got some of these blue pinch beads, some of these fire polish beads, and some of these like kind of darker fire polish beads for a little pop. I just made some wrapped loop links, and these were put together while I made them. So they're not connected with jump rings. It was something that I had to pay attention for. But I also bezeled this glass button because the glass button had its shank break off. So I did a little netted bezel with it to give it a little decorative jacket and a little loop so that it could become a pendant that would go with that. And so this is actually two different videos. One is just for bezeling, and then the other one was for the beaded chain. So I can't remember if the bezeling video is in my beaded chain playlist. If it's not, I'll put a link to that in the description as well if you are interested in grabbing one of your broken buttons and making it learn to love again. Alright, so then one of the other ones that I made during my challenge was making some 2-hole bead links, and I used some of the beads that we have gotten in the curated collections, the ones from Beads to Live By. So I made these links, and I used 26 gauge wire for this because it bends easier, and it also makes it a little more lightweight to be able to fit through all of the 11-0 seed beads as well as the 2-hole beads. So this is using wire, not using beading thread. And then I also made this pendant using that same 26 gauge wire and some of the 2-hole beads, fire polish beads, and seed beads that were in that. So I think this one was also 2 videos. I can't be sure. If it was and you want to just have the pendant part, I'll also put that in the description. But there are 2 different versions of it. One using 1 month's colors, and then the next using another month's colors with the curated collection. And so I actually counted this as one project. So technically I made 11 bead chain necklaces, but I am counting in my head that it was 10 because these were the same project. So that's just how my brain is working for that. But this was a lot of fun to figure these out. I like using 2-hole beads sometimes because it's like a puzzle. You get to figure out how they're gonna fit together, especially like the fun shape 2-hole beads that have like angular shapes or holes in weird places. It makes it a little more fun and interesting. I like figuring out puzzles and making things work. And then I made a double strand chain link with the Peach Sorbet bargain bead box. I used the rose quartz focal and then some of these really light beads, some of the shell beads, and just did beaded chain. And these I used simple links. There's some bicones in there too. And then I demonstrated in that how to make this link that has 3 connection points, because that's my little connector. And, you know, simple loops on top, and then it's almost like a an infinity link down here at the bottom so that I could have both of these strands on this multi-strand project go through. And my video also included me making the little hook for closure. And once more, this will be on the playlist if you want to see how I made that one. And then I wanted to make that transition from summer vibes to fall vibes, and the Sam's Bead Box that Deb Floros curated was just the perfect thing for that, because you had those bright citrusy colors in there, but then you also had some of these more muted fall colors. And so I was like, you know what, green and orange, and I grabbed some wire that had fall vibe colors. This is the antique copper wire, and again, these were all linked together as they were made, not using jump rings, but we used a lot of check glass beads for this, and it was a lot of fun to make. I also made some earrings, but I'm just doing necklaces in this wrap up. That was super awesome. And I love carnelian. Like it's one of those, I don't like orange, but I love carnelian sort of colors. that's a real vibe, and I'm drawn to it. Then the bargain bead box for the Mystic Moonrise came along, and I did a wire wrap of the labradorite stone, the gemstone that we got in there, with a couple of swirls on it. And the swirls are appropriate because we have little swirls in some of the other hardware. And then I just carried the swirls up along the links that I made, just making them super fancy. But with this, it meant that my super fancy, there's only a little bit of that is that chain, and then I added some existing chain to the end. And this was chain that also came in that bead box. All right, and then we had Customer Appreciation Week, and I was following along and doing other people's projects, and that's what this one was. And it is a beaded chain because you break apart the existing chain and you add beaded links into it. So this counts as a beaded chain necklace. And I made this from the kit that I got from Cassandra Spicer from the Beads to Live By store, and I think she may have some more of those kits available for purchase. I'll put a link to her store in the description below, as well as the link to this tutorial that she did. And then I had a lot of fun with this because I also got sent the Starseeds mix from Danielle Wicks to play around with and make some things with. And I just absolutely love these colors. And I pulled out some beading thread and came up with these little circles of beads that are super easy to make. You just go around twice and then go across once, and you've made your little satellite. And it's a really great, easy beginner project that, you know, it's kind of busy work a little bit, but you can just sit there and make a few of them, and it becomes a meditative process, like making those other links with wire does. And then once you've got those little guys made, you put a jump ring through the 8O seed beads on the edges, and then link them together with other jump rings, and it makes a chain. So this was a really fun project to be able to make with that bead mix. And you know, you could grab any bead mix. You can use any 11O seed beads and 8O seed beads that you've got. And then I just put some 4mm fire polish beads in the center, but you could use some 4mm bicones. You could use some 4mm rounds. You could put anything in there that's about 4mm, and that'll work just as well. I'll have the link to that tutorial in my playlist as well. That was a lot of fun to do. And then the Gemstone Orphanage one. This was a fantastic challenge for me because I had not made a Tree of Life before, and so when Steve Caldwell posted his tutorial for this, I followed it. I will put a link to his tutorial in the description. The tutorial for the rest of this did not include me making this because I followed someone else's tutorial. So you can, if you want to make a Tree of Life pendant like this one, go ahead and follow Steve's. But if you want to make some chains like this and put it together in a necklace, you can follow my tutorial. So for this, I just grabbed some extra pink from my bead stash to add to the existing pink and green, and these nice dark, like gunmetal-y colors, but I used some black wire instead, and so I made myself this fun necklace, but I also used this as inspiration for a painting. So this video is going to include some watercolor painting. So if you like watching me paint, that's where you'd go for that. And then these were the last two that I made. I did this one with these check glass beads from Mystery Bead Box. And for these, the wrapped loops I made ahead of time and then just connected them with jump rings afterwards. And I did that for ease of just making it a little bit easier on myself. Notice with a lot of the other ones, I wrapped as I went, like for that one and this one. If they're simple loops, I probably didn't do that. For this one, I used jump rings to connect. For this one, I used jump rings to connect. It's a preference thing. You can add jump rings or not, but if you don't do it and you do use wrapped links, you'll want to connect them as you go. If you want to go ahead and use jump rings, you can just make your links and then put them together afterwards, which is what I did for this one. And then this was the last one. This was made with the curated bead box, and we had these great big metal beads, some of these matte crackle glass beads, and then these like glass beads that came in the bead mix for that. And then I just grabbed some gold wire to make that, and then I made a little focal, again using some of those beads from the bead mix and my my wire. And I'm actually really happy with this focal. It turned out pretty much like I was hoping it would. It's a little wonky. It could be rounder. We're always our worst critic though, aren't we? It's sparkly and it's interesting, and I like that about it. So that was my beaded chain challenge for 2024. I really enjoyed it. Last year when I did it, I was in like a designing rut where my creativity was gone, and so it really helped me get my creativity back for that. And so for this one, I wasn't in as much of a rut with my creativity, but it was nice to be able to turn my mind toward a certain type of project. did notice near the end of the month that I was kind of waning a little bit. I was wanting to do other types of projects, and so, you know, I did. But all in all, I'm really happy with what I created, and I'm happy that I stuck with my progress. I had set a challenge for 2 beaded chain necklaces each week, and I ended up doing a little bit more than that, which I'm really happy with. So, I mean, it was at least, not only, so met or exceeds the thing. But yeah, that's one of the things. I really like doing challenges, just little personal challenges, little silly things to like try and do this or to try and do that. I know that some of our beading friends are going to be having some challenges soon. I believe Sam's Bead Shop is already started kind of a beading challenge calendar. If you join their join their Facebook group, they've got the little calendar and you can post your entries and do it that way. In November, Soft Flux Company has decided to push their Joyful Beading Challenge thing to November, which will be fantastic. I love that. Mid-October, there's going to be Silver Silk Diet Challenge in the Silkies group for Silver Silk. So Soft Flux is going to have Joyful Beading Challenge. Next month, Sam's Bead Shop has started their beading challenge this month, and then Silver Silk will have one, I think it's mid-October, sometime mid thing. So there are other challenges that we can, you know, kind of bump up our give us a motivation and inspiration for additional creativity. And that's the whole point of doing this, is just to give myself some extra motivation to have bump up my creativity. Like, I don't know that I would have started thinking about how to combine these beads into links if I wasn't doing this little challenge. If I had just been like, oh, I'll just make it into a bracelet instead. But because I gave myself that challenge, I started thinking about things in different ways and seeing these beads as links instead of as components in an earring or components in a bracelet. And so it's really nice to be able to like just give yourself that little extra push. Sometimes you're not in a place for an extra push. Absolutely, positively fine to not challenge yourself if you're not ready for challenges. If you just need easy, stick with easy. But I was in a place where I could accept and fulfill those challenges, and I'm very happy that I did. Anyway, I hope y'all are having a fantastic week, and I will see you in my next video. Happy beading. Bye.